How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we got a story time of this spoiled kid who does something so absolutely crazy that, only a spoiled kid could possibly do this. And this kid was new to the school, and after doing this, bro, it was going to be a lot harder for him to make friends. I know for a fact you'll enjoy this video, so leave a like right now to claim your free nothing. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And with that being said, let's just jump right into it. Anyways, so we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Alex. So anyways, right, Alex was in the 7th grade, and it was the first day of 7th grade. So there's a couple new kids in Alex's school, and we're going to call one of these new kids, we're going to call the spoiled kid, we're going to call Ben. I might be calling him the spoiled kid, I might be calling him Ben, I might be going back and forth. Either way, this new kid, his name is Ben. So here's the thing, right? Alex was pretty secure and with his friends, he felt pretty good about everything, but he was also a new kid in 5th grade. He swapped over to a new school in 5th grade, and he just remembered how difficult it was to make friends, but he also remembered that, a couple people made an attempt and made an effort to make his transition easier and would say, hey, come join us to do this. Hey, come hang out with us. And Alex just remembered how nice that was and how actually helpful that was when he was new to the school and everyone else was there. It's always a hard thing to go into a new environment where everyone else is comfortable, they know what's going on, and you're the new kid. Always hard. Anyways, so Alex decided that, with this new kid, Ben, that maybe he would return the favor. Maybe he would kind of, keep putting out, pass it along in a sense. Someone did something good to him, he's going to do something good to someone else. So anyways, it gets to lunchtime, and Alex and Ben don't have any classes together, so the first time that Alex actually has an opportunity to talk to Ben or to, kind of go out of his way to make sure that Ben was talking with or had friends or felt comfortable or anything like that, his first opportunity was lunch. Yeah, so anyways, right, lunchtime rolls around, and so Alex is kind of hanging out with his friends. They're walking into the lunchroom, and Alex says, hey, man, I'm going to go, he looks around, he scans, and he sees Ben, the new kid, sitting by himself. Anyways, though, so Alex kind of turns to his friends, yo, we should go sit with that kid. I remember when I came in the 5th grade when I was new, and it was really difficult for me, and, I appreciate it. One of the kids in Alex's current friend group was actually one of the kids who reached out. He's like, hey, James, you remember when, you just, randomly started doing stuff with me? That was big. That made it difficult. That made a pretty difficult transition, a lot easier. Let's pay it forward, and let's just do the same thing to this kid. So they all kind of agreed, yeah, that's probably a good idea. It's probably a nice thing to do. We probably should do it, etc. So anyways, they all walk over, and they see this kid, Ben, sitting by himself with, the lunch tray or whatever. And they all sit down, and Ben's like, hey, hi guys, what's up? And they're like, hey, we know that you're new here. We just, wanted to say hello. If you had any questions, hang out with you a little bit. And there was a pretty, nice look on Ben's face. However, here's some extra details that they did not know about Ben. So when I say Ben was a spoiled rich kid, I say this in almost every single episode, but I do really want to make a distinction. Just because, your parents have a lot of money or you have a lot of access to, you got privileges that other kids don't have, that doesn't necessarily mean at all that you're going to be a spoiled rich kid, or at least a spoiled rich kid within my definition. I think for someone to be a spoiled rich kid, you both need to, sometimes there's spoiled rich kids that aren't even rich, bro. They just act like they are. Basically, if you have a certain level of entitlement, thinking that you're better than other people, that's mostly what I'm getting at. Honestly, what I'm getting at is if you just genuinely think that you're a better person because, or a higher class person, or just, act in certain ways that just a normal person wouldn't act. So little did they know that Ben, while seeming a little nice at first, was actually a spoiled rich kid. And it's actually super funny how they found out. This is actually insane, and I know you'll enjoy it. Yeah, so anyways, right, the subscriber was, he sat down, they're talking with Ben, and they decided just to chat with him a little bit to see what he's like, to, hear about, where he's, just very basic standard conversation. They kind of introduced themselves. Ben basically said that he moved into the neighborhood because, his dad was kind of he worked at a bunch of different places, and that his mom wanted to, basically find a place to settle down, and that Ben had basically hopped around for most of his life, but that he was really going to secure himself there. So immediately they felt kind of bad, and, I actually know some people, or at least one person, who basically like every like 2 years would get up and have to go somewhere else to a new school. That's a very difficult life. I mean, one thing, you get pretty good at making friends because you almost have to every 2 years, right? But yeah, so, they kind of felt bad, and they're like, oh, well, we're super excited that, you seem pretty chill. Like, we're super excited that you're staying here. Anyways, though, so they keep talking, and for some reason, like, Ben just makes, like, a reference, like, something like, they're just having a casual chat. So they've kind of moved beyond the name, date of birth, hobbies, whatever, like okay, date of birth, that's kind of random. Just like the very standard stuff when you start talking to someone. They kind of moved to more casual, like friendly conversation. And for some reason, Ben brought up like, he thought this would be quote unquote funny and relatable. By the way, this is not the big hilarious thing that he does to expose himself. This is just a little extra thing on top I thought you guys would find pretty amusing. And basically, so Ben's like, oh yeah, by the way, like, this is the craziest thing ever, but my mom was so mad at my dad. And they were like, oh, like, what happened? Like, what did your mom, like, what did your dad do? Thinking, oh, well, he's, they're probably going to say some normal thing. They're like, oh, dad forgot the anniversary, which don't do, guys. If you're going to get in a relationship, you need 15,000 reminders on your phone saying, by the way, your anniversary is in 7 days. Do not forget it or you shall die. No, but basically, Ben's like, yeah, it was so crazy. I mean, he got, like, my mom, like, the new Porsche, but it was the wrong color. Ridiculous, right? And they all kind of look at each other like, new Porsche? Question mark? Yeah, so anyways, right, sure enough, they're kind of all looking at each other like, did you just say, like, new Porsche? Like, okay, that's not necessarily, like, okay. As I said before, that was not the thing he did that was insane, which is coming up, and I know you guys will find it hilarious. But that was kind of just like a thing, like, I don't know, man. It's not like the average person, like, oh, man. So it's a funny and relatable moment when your dad buys your mom the wrong color Porsche. Like, hey, yo. And guys, if you don't know, that's a super expensive car. You can look it up. Anyways, so conversation kind of moves on. Like, at the end of the day, it's not that deep what kind of car he has. And they kind of just assumed like, oh, okay, well, probably by the fact that he just referenced that his dad is buying his mom a Porsche, probably a little bit of money lying around, one might say. They might have a little bit of, well, one might argue that they have a tad bit of bread, One might say. Anyways, though, so yeah, sure enough, right, the subscriber is kind of, they're chilling at the table, and that's when the craziest thing ever happens. The most ridiculous thing that you will ever have seen. Absolutely ridiculous. So they're all sitting at the table, and so the kid finishes his first meal, and he reaches into his backpack. And at this point, Alex is not really thinking anything of it, and all of Alex's friends kind of don't care. It's like, oh, okay, kid's reaching into his backpack. They literally don't even think twice about it. And that's when this kid takes out this like little bell thing, and they're all like, Alex takes like a look at it, and he's just like, dude, what? And he sees as the kid like picks up the bell and rings it, which is what? So anyways, they're all looking at him, and a lot of kids like kind of like stop what they're doing and looking over. And Ben kind of has this very normal look on his face. It's not like he was obviously pranking or trolling. It looked like this. It's like he looked as normal as he'd look if he was, I don't know, walking around, breathing air, just doing normal person things. And apparently ringing a bell is the same thing. So obviously Alex is like, dude, like, why are you ringing that bell? And the spoiled kid's like, wait, what do you mean? And Alex is like, dude, wait, no, like what? Why you ring that bell? And the spoiled kid's like, well, how else are we going to get the maid service over here to get me another meal? And everyone at the table just looks at Ben. And just the most confused look ever. Yeah, so they're all looking at him, just like, did this guy actually just ring a bell expecting the maid service to come? Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment lunch down below. That'll be the secret word of the day. If you're listening on YouTube, make sure you've left a like, subscribe with notifications on. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, make sure you follow the podcast and rated 5 stars. And of course, if you're listening to this on YouTube and you use Spotify, just look up Connor Pugs. It'll be the first result there. And yes, submit these stories to my Instagram by going to Instagram, looking up Connor Pugs, following me, and then messaging me the story. And let's get right back to it. Try and do this as quickly as I can. Anyway, so yeah, at this point, everyone is staring at him because, bro, how out of touch do you need to be to think that you can just ring a bell and have your maid service come and get you another meal? Like, bro actually thought that if he just rang a bell, that, like, a maid would spawn out of nowhere. Like, this kid actually has completely lost touch with reality if he thinks he can just, like, go into a place, ring a bell, and then all of a sudden a maid will just spawn in. Like, that's actually ridiculous right there. So yeah, sure enough, all the other kids are like, dude, like, there's no, like, maid service. Like, what do you mean? And the spoiled kid's like, whenever I ring a bell at home and I want something, I get it. And that's when they started to realize that, you know, maybe Ben wasn't as cool as they thought. Because I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this, but, like, you're talking with someone for, like, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. They actually seem really cool, but then they just do something that just kind of, like, reveals more about themselves, and then you get a better sense of who they actually are, and you're like, oh, okay. Okay, I get it. So yeah, for the rest of that lunch, it was just so awkward because basically all of Alex's friends were trying to, like, get out of there. Because they're like, no. We are not associating with this kid. That's ridiculous. And Alex is trying to be cordial because he's like, we can't just, like, get up and leave. You know what I mean? We can't just get up and leave this kid. So all the other guys are like, oh, I got to go to the bathroom. I got class, which, dude, they all have the same lunch block. They don't have class. This isn't college, bro. This isn't, like, certain high schools. Like, that's ridiculous. So anyways, literally just Alex and Ben. And Ben's kind of looking at Alex and is like, yo, did I say something? And Alex in his head is like, did you say so? It's like, yes. But Alex is like, no, dude. They just have to go places or something. And at this point, Ben was like, looks at him. He's like, dude, I'm surprised you guys don't have a maid service. And Alex looks at him and says, I'm surprised you thought we had a maid service. Yeah, so Alex was nice enough to continue having lunch with that kid for that one day and not just get up like his other friends and leave. However, Alex did not pursue this relationship. You know, while it would have been nice to help out the new kid, he also realized, whoa, this kid, I don't know how I feel about him. The new kid actually overall ended up getting friends, but he was friends with, you probably guessed it, the other kind of, like, rich, snobby jerk kids. And it turned out that Ben was actually a total menace. Like, he was kind of, like, hiding how much of a complete jerk he was on the first day to kind of, you know, not alienate himself from everyone immediately. But especially once he found that friend group of people that were equally super spoiled and also absolutely mean, Ben just kind of released his full inner jerk. And yeah, pretty quickly he was known as, like, one of the worst, most notorious bullies there. And actually, about 5 months in, so, like, halfway through the school year, he actually gets expelled because his bullying was so bad. So honestly, Alex and his friends, it was a nice thing that they did, but bro, definitely dodged a bullet on that one.